Let's move on now. Two faith leaders in Sydney have issued a joint call to Pauline Hanson to stop her calls for a monoculture. They said that her pushing this anti-multiculturalism rise post-Bondi is doing more harm than good. The messages come from the chief rabbi of Sydney's oldest synagogue, the great synagogue chief, Rabbi Benjamin Elton, as well as Sydney Anglican Archbishop Kanishka Raffel. They have both insisted that Senator Hanson capitalising on surging anti-migration sentiment and pushing for a monoculture actually ignores Australia's history and offers no realistic pathway forward. The pair have penned an article in the Australian newspaper. They say, quote, "The status quo cannot be replaced by a single undifferentiated culture. That horse has not bolted. It never even existed in Australia, even before colonialisation. There were over 250 different Indigenous languages and many more dialects." They go on to say, and just as the first European settlers did not find a monoculture when they arrived, neither did they bring one with them. The first non-Aboriginals to live on the continent included English and Irish, Anglican, Catholic, non-conformist and Jewish, and yes, Muslims too. Each brought their own perspective born out of their individual culture. Look, I don't know why they needed to bring up European settlers or colonialisation to make a statement like this. I thought this was quite bizarre, to be quite frank. Firstly,
in this video, you are about to discover why one word, monoculture, has split Australia's political and religious leaders right down the middle. I have a favour to ask. If you are not subscribed to the channel yet, please take a second to do that now. You done? Thank you so much. Now let us continue.
I take issue with them saying to Pauline Hanson, do not use the Bondi massacre for an anti-immigration sentiment. Let's be very clear. I think that anti-immigration sentiment is not as bad as what they are insinuating it is. There's a very different there's a difference between being anti-immigrant and raising genuine concerns about migration and who we're bringing into this country. And I truly believe that is all that Pauline Hanson was trying to do. And I do think that a lot of Australians woke up after Bondi and went, OK, you know what, we have a problem. And that was the first time we have seen Australia really wake up to it, as shown in the polling. Secondly, nobody is asking migrants to this country to forget their own culture. And here we go again with this battle over the word monoculture. No one's saying, OK, come to this country and never, ever cook Italian food or never cook Greek food, never go out in the backyard and do Zorba the Greek. Nobody is saying that. What we are saying is when you come here, you put Australia first. Yes, you have your own way of doing things, but you try and assimilate into the way we do things. That is all they're trying to say. And thirdly, the common denominator that's always been is radical Islam. So if we've got these two faith leaders coming out talking about a monoculture, well then why not put pressure on Muslim leaders to call out radical Islam from the very first instance? Because right now it remains the elephant in the room, James, that nobody seems to want to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's easier to have pot shots at Pauline Hanson than to perhaps address, the Lebanese Muslim Association and say, hey, why aren't you guys talking about some of the problems we've got with social cohesion? And I think the faith leaders would have been better to do that. I mean, they talk about the fact that, multiculturalism existed prior to colonisation. Well, prior to colonisation at colonisation, we had diversity. But I would argue that diversity was in service of unity. These days, I think we've got diversity, just we don't have any unity at all.
Oh, come on. The proddies and the mix are at each other's throats non-stop 24/7. So much so to the point where I can't bring myself to agree with an Anglican Archbishop, but I think I'm going to have to. I agree what you said, that it's easier to take pot shots about Pauline Hanson than confront Islamism. I've always been very, very upfront in saying, if anything, Pauline Hanson isn't racist enough, because what she's doing is talking about multiculturalism when really she means extreme Islamism. And yes. So why don't we talk about that instead of tarring multiculturalism?
And if anyone can talk about extreme Islamism, it's other faith leaders, because that's their specialty. Comparative religion, that's what they should be doing. But it's easier to, play politics and, as I said,
I'm not sure if the extremists are going to these kind of multi-faith synods.
It started, as these things often do, with tragedy. The Bondi attack shook the nation, and within days, Senator Pauline Hanson was back on the microphone, calling for Australia to return to what she describes as a monoculture. Cue the fireworks. Enter Rabbi Benjamin Elton and Archbishop Kanishka Raffel, two of Sydney's most senior faith leaders, who fired back in a joint opinion piece that pulled absolutely no punches. Their argument? Australia was never a monoculture to begin with. Before a single ship arrived from Britain, this continent held over 250 Indigenous languages and countless dialects. The first non-Aboriginal settlers were not some tidy, uniform bunch either. They were English and Irish, Anglican and Catholic, Jewish and Muslim, a proper mixed bag from day one. Their most quotable line summed it up perfectly. That supposed horse of monoculture never even bolted, because it never existed in the first place. Now here is where the plot thickens, because this is not just two sides yelling past each other. It is a genuine clash of world views. On one side, you have the case for pluralism. The idea that Australia's strength has always come from its diversity, stretching back tens of thousands of years, and that using a tragedy to push a monoculture narrative is opportunistic at best and divisive at worst. On the other side, commentators are pushing back hard, arguing there is a real difference between xenophobia and simply asking tough questions about immigration and integration. For them, assimilation doesn't mean stripping away culture. Nobody's coming for your nonna's lasagna or your Greek dancing. It means sharing a common commitment to democratic values and civic loyalty. And here is their sharpest jab. They accuse the faith leaders of dodging the elephant in the room, namely a lack of clear, united condemnation of extremist ideology within some corners of the Muslim community. So which is it? Is the real threat a slide toward monoculture thinking, or is it a reluctance to confront radicalism head-on? Honestly, it depends entirely on who you ask, and that is precisely why this debate refuses to die down. What makes this whole saga so telling is that it's not really about food festivals or heritage days at all. It's about power, responsibility, and who gets to define what it means to be Australian. Politicians want security, religious leaders want unity, and everyday Australians are stuck in the middle, wondering whether they can have both at once. Here is the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. National identity and national security are not opposites, but the moment either side treats them as if they are, the conversation stops being a conversation and starts becoming a shouting match, which is exactly what has happened here. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you for taking time to watch this. Stay safe and let us make this nation a better place. Leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below.